Have you ever had a moment where you suddenly realized you actually don't know where your life is going? Maybe things look fine on the outside. You might have the job. You might have the relationship. You might be doing everything you were told you were supposed to do. But internally, something still feels off. Like you're moving through life, but not fully connected to it. Like something is missing, but you can't quite explain what that something is. And eventually that feeling leads to a question so many people quietly ask themselves. Why do I feel so lost? If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And today I want to talk about something I think a lot of people are experiencing right now. Why so many of us feel lost in life, and why that feeling might not actually be a bad thing. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about life is that everyone else has it figured out. When we look around, it can seem like other people know exactly where they're going. People appear confident, people appear successful, people appear certain, but the truth is, a lot of people are just really good at looking like they have direction. Inside, many of them are asking the same questions. Am I on the right path? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Why does something still feel off? There was a time in my life where everything looked normal from the outside. I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. Life was moving forward. But internally, something didn't feel aligned. Nothing was dramatically wrong, but there was this quiet feeling inside of me that something just wasn't right. And I think that's one of the hardest types of lost to explain, because when your life looks fine on the outside, people assume everything must be fine on the inside too. But sometimes the disconnect isn't visible to anyone else. Sometimes it's something only you can feel. And because people don't talk about that feeling openly, we start to believe that something must be wrong with us, when in reality, feeling lost is actually a very human experience. One of the biggest reasons so many people feel lost at some point in their life is because a lot of us built our lives around expectations that we never consciously chose for ourselves. From a young age, we're taught certain ideas about what life is supposed to look like. This is what success looks like. This is what happiness looks like. This is the path you're supposed to follow. So we grow up trying to follow that blueprint. We try to do the things that we believe will lead to fulfillment. But eventually, something inside of us starts to ask a deeper question. Is this actually my life, or just the life I was taught to build? I remember having moments where I started realizing that a lot of the beliefs I had about life weren't actually beliefs I had consciously chosen. They were things I had absorbed from society, from people around me, from the expectations that quietly shape how we think life is supposed to go. And once you start questioning those things, it can feel very unsettling, because suddenly the path you've been walking doesn't feel as clear anymore. And that space between the life you've been living and the life that might actually feel aligned, that's often where people start to feel lost. But what if feeling lost isn't actually a failure? What if it's a signal? Sometimes feeling lost is the moment when your life is inviting you to become more honest with yourself. It's the moment when the things that once made sense start to feel misaligned. The goals that once motivated you stop feeling fulfilling. The beliefs you inherited start to feel incomplete. And that can feel uncomfortable, but it's also the moment when deeper awareness begins. Because you can't find a more authentic direction until you start questioning the direction you were originally given. Feeling lost can actually be the beginning of waking up to your life in a deeper way. There have been moments in my life where I felt completely lost. Moments where the life I thought I was building suddenly didn't feel aligned anymore. And when that happens, it can feel scary, because clarity disappears for a while. You start asking bigger questions about who you are, what you believe, and what actually matters to you. But looking back now, I can see that those seasons where I felt the most lost were actually the seasons where I was growing the most. At the time, it felt confusing and uncomfortable, but those moments forced me to slow down and actually reflect on my life. They pushed me to reconnect with myself. They pushed me to start asking deeper questions about my beliefs, about my purpose, and about my relationship with God. And if I hadn't gone through those seasons of uncertainty, I honestly don't think I would have developed the level of awareness I have today. Sometimes what feels like losing your direction is actually the beginning of finding your true one. Spiritually, I think these seasons often happen when our soul is ready for a deeper level of awareness. The life that once made sense starts to feel incomplete, not because you're failing, but because you're evolving. Sometimes God doesn't immediately give us the next step. Instead, we enter a season where we're invited to pause, to reflect, to question, to grow. And that season can feel like being lost. But in reality, it's often the space where the most important inner shifts begin to happen, where old identities fall away, where deeper truth starts to emerge, where we slowly begin to reconnect with what actually matters. If you've been feeling lost lately, I want you to hear this. Feeling lost doesn't mean your life is falling apart. Sometimes it means your life is realigning. Sometimes it means you're outgrowing old expectations. Sometimes it means you're being guided towards something more authentic than what you originally planned. And even though that space can feel uncertain, it's also where some of the most meaningful growth begins. You're not broken. You're not behind. You might simply be in a season where your life is asking you to slow down and rediscover what truly matters. If this conversation resonated with you, I want you to know that one of the things that helped me most in seasons like this was having a system that didn't fight against my energy, something that held space for the hard days while still keeping me moving forward. So I created something for you. It's called Sought and Structured, a free planning framework designed to help you bring more clarity, intention, and alignment into your life. It's not a rigid productivity system. It's something gentler, something that works with where you actually are. If you'd like to download it, I'll leave the link in the description below. Until next time, take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, and stay open to what God is doing in your life.